She stared me straight in the eyes and declared, "The master bedroom is ours now. I'm Robert Harrison, and I had just been kicked out of my own house." What my daughter-in-law, Emily, didn't realize was that I had been quietly recording every single insult, every condescending remark, every moment she treated me like trash inside the home I owned. She believed she was dealing with a penniless old widower who had nowhere else to turn. She was moments away from discovering that the quietest people sometimes deliver the biggest shocks and the most severe consequences. I simply smiled, lifted my coffee mug, and replied, "We'll see about that." That calm little sentence would end up costing her everything. If you're reading this, please hit subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from, especially if you've ever dealt with entitled family members who thought they could push you around. Let me tell you exactly how a woman who thought she married into poverty found out she had just insulted her way out of an $11.8 million inheritance. It all began 8 months earlier when my beloved wife, Carolyn, passed away on February 18, 2024, the worst day of my life. Emily moved in with my son Ryan that March, claiming they wanted to help me through this difficult time. I should have known better. Within 2 weeks the comments started. "Robert, maybe you should think about getting some nicer clothes," she said one morning, eyeing my $14 Walmart polo shirt. "People might think we can't afford to dress you properly." I was getting into my 2018 Honda Civic, 142,000 miles and still running like a dream, when she pulled up in her brand new $89,000 BMW X5. "Seriously, Robert? That embarrassing car in our driveway? What will the neighbors think?" Our driveway, my driveway, in the house I had owned since 1979. But here's what Emily never saw: every time she made one of those remarks, I went to my study and wrote it down, date, time, exact words. My late wife Carolyn always taught me, document everything, Robbie. Truth has a way of mattering later. By the 3rd week, Emily decided my daily routine needed improvement. "You can't just sit around reading newspapers and watching old movies," she announced. "It's depressing. Makes the whole house feel like a retirement home." I had been reading the Denver Post every morning for 36 years, same chair, same coffee mug. Carolyn used to bring me refills and kiss the top of my head. "Maybe you should find some activities outside the house," Emily continued. "Senior centers have programs." Senior centers, for the man who built Harrison Precision Tools from nothing. But Emily couldn't know that. She saw the thrift store clothes, the old car, the quiet routine. She saw exactly what I wanted her to see. The breaking point came on Tuesday, April 15th, tax day. How's that for irony? I was making breakfast when Emily walked into the kitchen wearing her $180 Lululemon leggings and carrying her $320 Michael Kors purse. "Robert, we need to talk about your contribution to this household." "Contribution to my household?" I asked quietly. "Financial contribution. Ryan and I are carrying all the expenses while you just exist here." She gestured around the kitchen like it already belonged to her, the mortgage, utilities, groceries, everything. "You're basically a charity case." Those were her exact words, charity case. I nodded slowly. "I see. I mean, I get that you're grieving, but Carolyn's been gone 2 months. At some point you need to start pulling your weight or find somewhere else to live." Find somewhere else to live, in my own house. That evening I called my lawyer, Laura Bennett. Carolyn and I had used her firm for 23 years. "Laura, I need you to prepare some documents for me." "What kind of documents, Robert?" "The kind that remind people who owns what." But I wasn't ready to play that card yet. Emily was still showing me exactly who she was, and I was still documenting every revelation. By May she had moved from suggestions to demands. The newspaper subscription was wasteful. My morning coffee routine was taking up too much counter space. My evening walks around the neighborhood were wandering around like a lost old man. Each insult got carefully logged in my notebook. But what Emily didn't realize was that every time she called me a burden, every time she rolled her eyes at my cheap clothes, every time she treated me like an unwelcome guest, she was actually answering a test, and failing it spectacularly. Carolyn had always said, "You can tell everything about someone's character by how they treat people who can't fight back." Emily thought I couldn't fight back. She was about to learn otherwise. The house Emily was so eager to redecorate held 45 years of memories with Carolyn. Every room told a story. The kitchen where Carolyn taught me to make her famous apple pie. The living room where we watched our son Ryan take his first steps. The master bedroom where we held each other through good times and bad, where I whispered, "I love you," to her one last time before the cancer took her away. This wasn't just about property or money. This was about honoring the woman who had made me a better man for 4.5 decades. Carolyn Harrison had been the heart of our family. She balanced my quiet nature with her warm spirit. When I sold Harrison Precision Tools in 2019 for $11.8 million, she made me promise something. Robbie, she said, holding my hands in our kitchen, money changes people. But it doesn't have to change us. We'll live the same way we always have, simple, honest, kind. So we kept driving our older cars, kept shopping at the same stores, kept living in the same house we bought as newlyweds for $67,500 in 1979. The only difference was the bank account, the investment portfolio, and the fact that I had quietly bought 5 more houses in our cul-de-sac over the years as they came up for sale. But Carolyn made me promise something else too. Don't let anyone take advantage of your kindness, Robbie, especially family. Sometimes the people closest to us need the clearest boundaries. Now, 8 months after losing her, I was watching those boundaries get trampled daily. Emily didn't just want my bedroom. She wanted to erase Carolyn's presence from the house entirely. These old family photos are so dated, she said, pointing to our wedding pictures. We should update the decor, make it more modern. She wanted to donate Carolyn's china cabinet to Goodwill. It's taking up space we could use for something functional. That china cabinet held our wedding dishes, the ones Carolyn's mother had given us, the ones we used for every anniversary dinner, every holiday meal, every celebration for 45 years. And this living room furniture is ancient, Emily continued. We could get a nice sectional from Ashley Furniture, something comfortable for entertaining. The couch she wanted to replace was where Carolyn and I watched Ryan grow up, where we cuddled during movie nights, where I held her during her final weeks when she was too weak to make it upstairs. But the final straw came when Emily decided the master bedroom needed her touch. Robert, I think it would be healthier for you to sleep in the guest room, she announced one evening in early May. Being in that bedroom surrounded by Carolyn's things, it's not helping you move on. Move on, like Carolyn was a phase I was supposed to outgrow. The guest room is perfectly comfortable, Emily continued, and Ryan and I need the space. We're thinking about starting a family soon. Starting a family in the bedroom where Carolyn and I had raised ours. That night I sat in my study looking at Carolyn's picture on my desk. She was smiling, wearing the blue dress I'd bought her for our 40th anniversary. What would you want me to do, Carrie? I whispered. The answer came clear as day. Carolyn wouldn't want her memory erased. She wouldn't want our home turned into Emily's personal makeover project. And she definitely wouldn't want me sleeping in the guest room of my own house. But more than that, Carolyn would want Emily to learn what real character looked like. She'd want our son Ryan to understand the difference between entitlement and respect. She'd want our family to honor the values we'd built our life on. That's when I realized the stakes weren't just about a bedroom or hurt feelings. This was about preserving everything Carolyn and I had worked for, everything we believed in, everything we tried to teach our son about treating people with dignity. If I stayed silent, I wasn't just losing my house, I was letting Emily destroy the foundation of everything Carolyn and I had built together. That was unacceptable. The confrontation Emily had been building toward finally arrived on Memorial Day weekend. I was in the living room reading when she walked in with Ryan. They'd been whispering in the kitchen for 20 minutes. Never a good sign. Dad, Ryan started, Emily and I have been talking. Here it comes, I thought. We think it would be good for everyone if we made some changes around here. Emily jumped in, starting with sleeping arrangements. I set down my newspaper. What kind of changes? The master bedroom is really better suited for a couple, she said. You're just one person. You don't need all that space. It's my bedroom, I replied calmly. Emily's face hardened. Actually, Robert, this is our home now. Ryan and I are the ones paying the bills, handling the mortgage, keeping everything running. Our home? Mortgage? What mortgage? I asked. Ryan looked confused. Dad, the house payment, you know, the monthly mortgage payment. Son, I said quietly, this house was paid off in 1994. Silence. Emily recovered first. Well, there are still expenses, property taxes, insurance, utilities, maintenance. We're covering all of that while you contribute nothing. How much are the property taxes? I asked. What does it matter? Emily snapped. The point is we're paying them and you're not. $6,800 a year, I said. Property taxes on this house are $6,800 annually. Insurance is $4,200. I know because I've been paying them for 45 years. Ryan's face went pale. Dad, are you saying? I'm saying your wife doesn't know what she's talking about. Emily's voice got sharp. Don't talk to me like I'm stupid, Robert. I may not know the exact numbers, but I know Ryan is working his tail off to keep this house running while you sit around feeling sorry for yourself. Ryan makes $52,000 a year as an IT coordinator, good job, honest work. But Emily acted like he was carrying the family fortune. And I know you haven't contributed $1 to this household since Carolyn died, she continued. Not one. That's not exactly true, I said. I stood up, walked to my study, and came back with a folder. Grocery bill from King Soopers last week, $1.37, paid cash. Electric bill for May, $3.18 total, another receipt. New tires for Ryan's car in April, $6.12. Refrigerator repair 3 weeks ago, $2.95. Furnace maintenance contract, $1.90 annually. Homeowner's insurance premium that just renewed, $4.200. New water heater last month when the old one died, $2.800, paid in full the same day. The room went quiet except for the sound of papers rustling. Ryan picked up one of the receipts. Dad, this water heater receipt says paid in cash. I prefer cash for contractors, $2.800 in cash. It was convenient. Emily stared at the receipts like they were written in another language. Where are you getting this money? I have some savings. Some savings? Her voice cracked. Robert, normal people don't just keep thousands of dollars in cash lying around. I'm not normal people. That's when Emily made her first real mistake. Instead of backing down or asking questions about my financial situation, she doubled down. This is exactly what I'm talking about, Ryan, she said, turning to my son. Your father is being secretive and weird about money, paying for random things in cash like some kind of, I don't know, drug dealer. Drug dealer. She actually compared me to a drug dealer. He's probably spending Carolyn's life insurance money instead of saving it for emergencies. That's not sustainable, Robert. Life insurance doesn't last forever. Ryan looked uncomfortable. Emily, maybe we should. No, Ryan. Someone needs to have an honest conversation with your father about reality. He can't just throw money around randomly and expect it to last. At some point he's going to run out. And then what? Then we're really stuck supporting him. That's why the bedroom situation makes sense, she continued. We need to establish some boundaries, some rules. This is our house now, and your father needs to understand his place in it. My place in it, I repeated, looking at my son. Ryan wouldn't meet my eyes. So let me understand this correctly, I said slowly. You want me to give up the master bedroom in my own house because you think I can't afford to keep living here? It's not your house anymore, Robert, Emily said firmly. Carolyn is gone. You're living here because we're letting you live here. The sooner you accept that, the better off we'll all be. Ryan finally spoke up. Dad, maybe Emily's right about the bedroom. I mean, it might help you move forward, start fresh. My own son siding with her. That's when I realized the documentation phase was over. It was time for Emily to meet the real Robert Harrison. All right, I said quietly. Let me think about it. Emily smiled like she'd won something. What she didn't see was me slipping Laura Bennett's business card into my shirt pocket, the card I'd been carrying for 3 weeks, waiting for the right moment. That evening, after Emily and Ryan went to bed, I made the phone call. Laura, it's Robert Harrison. I think it's time. Are you sure, Robert? Once we start this process, there's no going back. I'm sure. How long do you need? Give me 48 hours. I'll have everything ready. Tuesday morning Emily found me in the kitchen reading the Denver Post like always. Robert, I hope you thought about what we discussed. Ryan and I would like to start moving our things into the master bedroom this weekend. Of course, I said. Just give me a few days to go through Carolyn's belongings. Take your time, she replied smugly. Just not too much time. What Emily didn't notice was the Chase private client envelope sitting on the counter next to my coffee mug, addressed to Robert Harrison, return address clearly visible. She was too busy looking at her phone to notice that envelope contained my quarterly investment statement, $8.6 million in liquid assets. She also didn't notice me leaving my laptop open on the kitchen table when I went to shower. The screen clearly displayed my Morgan Stanley portfolio, $3.2 million in blue-chip stocks. Wednesday morning I got a call from Laura's office. Mr. Harrison, this is Jennifer from Laura Bennett's firm. She wanted me to confirm your appointment for Thursday at 2:15 p.m. I was standing in the kitchen, Emily was making coffee 3 feet away. Yes, that works perfectly, I said, not lowering my voice. Please tell Laura I have all the documents she requested, the property deeds, the business sale contract, everything. And please remind her we'll need copies of everything for the family meeting. My son and daughter-in-law should understand exactly how the estate is structured. The coffee maker stopped running. Emily was definitely listening now. That's right, $11.8 million. Yes, that's the full sale amount from Harrison Precision Tools. Emily turned around. Her face was pale. Thursday at 2:15 then. Thank you, Jennifer. I hung up and smiled at Emily. Sorry about that, business call. Business call, she asked quietly. Just some paperwork to handle. Nothing exciting. She stared at me for a long moment. Robert, what was that about property deeds? Oh, just some real estate stuff? Laura handles all my legal affairs. Real estate stuff? Well, when you own multiple properties, there's always paperwork to manage. Multiple properties, I could see the wheels turning in her head. How many properties do you own, Robert, in this neighborhood? 6 houses, I answered casually. Sometimes 7, depending on market conditions. She gripped her coffee mug like it was the only thing keeping her upright. Saturday arrived with perfect weather for our neighborhood's annual Memorial Day barbecue. Every year the whole cul-de-sac gathers in the Mitchell's backyard, kids running around, adults sharing stories, everyone bringing a dish to pass. Carolyn had never missed one in 45 years. I was carrying her famous potato salad recipe when Emily intercepted me at the gate. Robert, we need to talk before we go in there. About what? About this whole lawyer meeting thing. I think you're making a bigger deal out of this than it needs to be. I could see she'd been losing sleep, dark circles under her eyes, tension in her shoulders. Laura just wants to review some paperwork, I said calmly. But why involve Ryan? Why make it a family meeting? Because it affects the family. Emily grabbed my arm. Robert, if this is about the bedroom situation, maybe we can work something out. Maybe we were too hasty. Too hasty? After 3 months of calling me a burden? Let's just enjoy the barbecue, I said. We can discuss family business later. The party was in full swing when we arrived. Sarah Mitchell from 2 houses down waved us over. Robert, how are you holding up? We miss Carolyn so much. Thank you, Sarah. She loved these gatherings. Emily smiled politely, but I could see her scanning the crowd, looking for allies, maybe, or escape routes. That's when Greg Mitchell, our host, approached with a beer in hand. Robert, I keep meaning to ask you about that property on Oak Street, the rental house. My cousin's looking for a place, and I know you've got good tenants. Emily's head snapped toward us. Oh, the blue house with the white shutters, I replied. Sorry, Greg. Lease doesn't expire until next March. Damn. Well, if anything changes, let me know. You've always been a fair landlord. Landlord? Emily was staring at me now. How many rentals do you have in the neighborhood again? Greg asked. Just the 3 active rentals plus the 2 houses I'm renovating, 5 rental properties total. Emily's mouth fell open. Greg laughed. Must keep you busy, all that property management. It's not too bad. Good tenants make all the difference. Greg wandered off to check the grill, leaving Emily and me standing by the potato salad table. Robert, she whispered urgently, what the hell is going on? What do you mean? Greg just called you a landlord. He said you own rental properties. I do own rental properties. Her voice got higher. How many rental properties? Enough to keep me comfortable. That's when Emily made her second major mistake of the day. Instead of pulling me aside for a private conversation, instead of trying to understand what she'd stumbled into, she decided to take control of the narrative publicly. You know what, she announced to the group near us, her voice carrying across the patio. I think Robert's been having some memory issues lately. Sometimes he gets confused about things. Memory issues. She was telling our neighbors I had dementia. Sarah Mitchell looked concerned. Memory issues? Robert seems sharp as ever to me. Oh, he has good days and bad days, Emily continued, speaking louder now. Like today he's talking about owning rental properties and having meetings with lawyers. Yesterday he claimed he paid for our water heater in cash, $2,800 in cash. She laughed like this was the most ridiculous thing she'd ever heard. I mean, where would he get that kind of money? He hasn't worked in 5 years, lives on Social Security like most retirees. Social Security. She was telling everyone I lived on Social Security. More neighbors were listening now, the Mitchells, the Johnsons, people I'd known for decades. It's sad, really, Emily went on. I think he's been struggling since Carolyn passed. Sometimes he gets these grandiose ideas about having money and owning property. I think it's his way of feeling important again. She was diagnosing me in front of my neighbors. The hardest part is when he gets hostile about it, she continued. Like if you try to gently correct him about reality, he gets angry, shows you receipts, says he's paid for things, gets very defensive. She was painting me as a delusional old man living in a fantasy world. Ryan and I are trying to help him transition to a more realistic living situation, she said, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. We're even letting him stay in our house while we figure out the next steps. Our house. She just claimed ownership of my house in front of the entire neighborhood. It's challenging, but family takes care of family, you know. Sarah Mitchell looked uncomfortable. Emily, I don't think Robert. Oh, Sarah, you're sweet to be concerned, but you don't see what we see at home, the confusion, the memory lapses, the way he hoards cash and talks about million-dollar business deals that never existed. Million-dollar business deals that never existed. That was the line that broke something inside me. The truth is, Emily continued, really warming up now, we're probably going to need to look into assisted living soon, somewhere he can get the proper care. I mean, we love Robert, but we can't enable these delusions forever. Assisted living, proper care, delusions. She was telling my neighbors of 45 years that I needed to be institutionalized. The crowd had gone completely quiet. Everyone was staring at Emily, then at me, trying to process what they were hearing. That's when Sarah Mitchell, bless her heart, stepped forward. Emily, she said firmly, I think you need to stop talking. Sarah, I know this is uncomfortable, but... No, you need to stop talking right now. Sarah turned to me. Robert, would you like to tell everyone what's really going on here? I looked around the circle of faces, my neighbors, people who'd watched Ryan grow up, brought casseroles when Carolyn was sick, stood in the rain at her funeral. People who deserved to hear the truth. Actually, I said quietly, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Emily smiled triumphantly, thinking I was about to admit to confusion or memory problems. There certainly has, I continued. The misunderstanding is that Emily thinks she knows anything about my financial situation, or my property ownership, or my business history. That's about to change. I walked over to my car and retrieved the folder Laura had prepared, 23 pages of documentation that would change everything. Since Emily has made this a public discussion, I announced, returning to the circle of neighbors, I think everyone should know the facts. Emily tried to interrupt. Robert, maybe we should. The first fact, I continued calmly, is about this house Emily claims is hers. I opened the folder and pulled out the first document. This is the property deed for 1247 Maple Grove Drive, purchased March 15, 1979 by Robert and Carolyn Harrison for $67,500. Mortgage paid in full September 20, 1994. I held up the deed so everyone could see the official seal. Current assessed value, $685,000. Current owner, Robert Harrison, sole owner since Carolyn's passing. Emily's face had gone from pale to gray. The second fact is about my employment status. Emily told you I haven't worked in 5 years and live on Social Security. I pulled out another document. This is the business sale contract for Harrison Precision Tools, founded 1983, sold November 12, 2019 to Midwest Industrial Solutions for $11.8 million. After taxes and fees, the net proceeds were $9.4 million. Sarah Mitchell's mouth fell open. Greg Mitchell nearly dropped his beer. The third fact concerns my current financial status. I showed them my Chase private client statement, current liquid assets in checking and savings accounts, $8.6 million. Emily made a small whimpering sound. Investment portfolio managed by Morgan Stanley, $3.2 million in blue-chip stocks and municipal bonds. I could see neighbors doing math in their heads, $12 million total. The fourth fact relates to property ownership in this neighborhood. This was the part I'd been saving. In addition to my primary residence, I own the following properties. 1251 Maple Grove Drive, purchased 2012 for $290,000. 1255 Maple Grove Drive, purchased 2015 for $320,000. 1203 Oak Street, purchased 2017 for $285,000. 1207 Oak Street, purchased 2019 for $315,000. 1289 Elm Avenue, purchased 2021 for $420,000. Greg Mitchell was staring at his own house. Wait, you own the Johnson place next to you? I do. Nice young couple renting it, teachers. I gave them below market rent because we need good teachers. And the Stewart house on the corner? Also mine. The Stewarts moved to Florida, asked if I wanted first refusal. Emily finally found her voice. This is impossible. You shop at Walmart. You drive a 12-year-old Honda. You wear thrift store clothes. That's the fifth fact I'd like to address, I said. My spending habits. I pulled out a photo of Carolyn and me from our 40th anniversary. My wife Carolyn believed that money should never change who you are. She made me promise that no matter how much we accumulated, we'd live the same values we always lived: modesty, humility, kindness to others. I looked directly at Emily. She also made me promise never to let anyone take advantage of our kindness, especially family. That's when Laura Bennett's car pulled into the driveway, perfect timing. Ah, I said, here's my attorney now. Laura, thank you for joining us. Laura approached with her briefcase, professional as always. She'd known Carolyn and me for 23 years, handled our wills, our business transactions, everything. Hello, Robert. I have those documents you requested. Excellent. Laura, I'd like you to meet my daughter-in-law, Emily. Emily, this is Laura Bennett, senior partner at Bennett & Associates. Laura shook Emily's trembling hand. Laura has been handling my legal affairs since 2010, I explained. She prepared Carolyn's will, managed the business sale, structures all my property acquisitions. And the new documents? Laura asked. I think now is a good time to review those. Laura opened her briefcase and pulled out several official-looking papers. The first document is an updated property management agreement for your rental holdings, current monthly rental income from the 5 properties, $31,200. Emily actually staggered backward. The second document is your updated last will and testament reflecting changes in beneficiary designations. Emily's eyes went wide. And the third document, Laura continued, is the family trust restructuring we discussed. Given recent circumstances, you wanted to ensure your assets are protected and distributed according to your wishes. She handed me the papers. Robert, she said quietly, are you certain about these changes? I looked at Emily, who was now gripping Ryan's arm like it was the only thing keeping her upright. Laura, 3 months ago my daughter-in-law called me a charity case. 2 weeks ago she told me I was dead weight who contributed nothing to this household. Yesterday she informed me that this house was hers now and I should be grateful she was letting me live here. Laura's eyebrows raised. She'd known Carolyn, she understood what that meant. Today, I continued, she told my neighbors I have dementia and need assisted living care. She said my business career never existed and that I live on Social Security. I see, Laura said coldly. She also announced that she and Ryan are letting me stay in their house out of the kindness of their hearts. Laura looked around at the assembled neighbors, then back at Emily. Mrs. Thompson, are you aware that your father-in-law owns this house outright and 5 additional properties in this neighborhood? Emily couldn't speak. Are you aware that he has liquid assets exceeding $12 million? Still nothing. Are you aware that he's been paying for groceries, utilities, home repairs, and maintenance for your household since you moved in, totaling approximately $11,000 in expenses over the past 3 months? Ryan finally spoke up. Dad, is this all true? Every word, I replied. The bank statements, the property deeds, the business sale, all of it. Ryan looked at Emily, then back at me. Dad? I had no idea. Emily told me you were struggling financially. She said we needed to help support you. Support me, son, I said gently. I've been supporting you, your car insurance, your health insurance copays, that vacation to Colorado last month, the new furniture Emily ordered online. I've been quietly covering expenses while she complained about carrying the financial burden. Emily finally found her voice. Robert, I didn't know. You didn't know because you never asked. You assumed you saw what you wanted to see and you treated me accordingly. I turned to Laura. Please proceed with the document changes we discussed. Laura nodded. The updated will removes Emily Thompson as a beneficiary and establishes specific provisions regarding property inheritance. She looked directly at Emily. Additionally, the trust restructuring ensures that any family members who demonstrate disrespect, harassment, or financial manipulation toward Mr. Harrison will forfeit their inheritance rights entirely. The barbecue had gone completely silent except for the sound of kids playing in the distance. One final thing, I said, pulling out the last document. This is a 30-day notice to quit and surrender possession of the premises at 1247 Maple Grove Drive. Eviction notice. Emily was being evicted from my house, effective June 1, 2024. You have 30 days to find alternative housing arrangements. Emily's legs gave out. She sat down hard on the Mitchell's patio chair. Robert, she whispered, please. I didn't understand. I made a mistake. Yes, I replied quietly, you made several mistakes. I looked around at my neighbors, good people who had just witnessed the complete destruction of someone's arrogance. But the biggest mistake was assuming that quiet people are weak people. Laura packed up her briefcase efficiently, like the seasoned attorney she was. Robert, the documents are all properly executed and filed. The property management changes take effect immediately, and the eviction notice is legally binding. Emily was still sitting on the patio chair, staring at the papers in her lap like they were written in hieroglyphics. What about Ryan? She whispered. Is he being evicted too? I looked at my son. He was standing there looking lost, caught between the woman he'd married and the father he'd misjudged. That depends on Ryan, I said calmly. Dad, Ryan started, I need to apologize. I should have. You should have asked questions, I interrupted. When your wife told you I wasn't contributing to the household, you should have asked me directly. He nodded miserably. I know. When she said I was a financial burden, you should have wondered how I was paying for groceries and repairs. I know, Dad. I screwed up. I pulled out another document from Laura's folder. This is a lease agreement for 1251 Maple Grove Drive, the house next door. The Johnsons moved out last month. Ryan looked confused. A lease agreement? If you want to separate yourself from Emily's decision-making and rebuild our relationship based on honesty and respect, you can rent that house from me, market rate $1,500 a month. $1,500 a month, well below market value for a 3-bedroom house. And he knew it. But if you choose to stay married to someone who calls your father names and tries to steal his bedroom, then you'll need to find housing elsewhere together. Ryan looked at Emily, then back at me. Dad, I love Emily, but what she did, what I let her do, it was wrong. Yes, it was. Can we fix this? Can we make it right somehow? Emily jumped up from the chair. Of course we can make it right, Robert. I apologize. I was completely out of line. I had no idea about your financial situation. If I'd known. If you'd known I was wealthy, you would have treated me better. She stopped mid-sentence. That's exactly the problem, Emily. Your apology is conditional on my bank account balance. I turned back to Ryan. Son, I loved your mother for 45 years. She never once treated me differently when I made $20,000 a year versus when I made $2 million a year. She respected me when we lived in that tiny apartment downtown, and she respected me the same way when we could afford this house. Ryan was nodding, understanding dawning on his face. Respect isn't about money, Ryan. It's about character. And your wife has shown me exactly what her character looks like. Emily tried again. Robert, please, I can change. I can be better. You can be better, I agreed. Just not in my house. Sarah Mitchell, who'd been watching this whole drama unfold, stepped forward. Robert, I think you're handling this exactly right. Carolyn would be proud of how you stood up for yourself. Carolyn would be proud. That meant everything to me. Greg Mitchell nodded. Takes guts to set boundaries like that. Respect, Robert. Other neighbors were murmuring agreement. These people had known me for decades. They understood what it meant for me to finally draw a line in the sand. Laura checked her watch. Robert, I need to get back to the office, but call me if you need anything else. The eviction notice is properly served and all the other documents are filed. She shook my hand professionally, then leaned in close. Carolyn always said you were stronger than you looked, she whispered. She was right. After Laura left, the barbecue gradually returned to normal conversation, though I caught people sneaking glances at our little group. Emily tried one more time. Ryan, say something. Tell your father we can work this out. Ryan stood up straighter than I'd seen him in months. Emily, I think Dad's been more than fair. He gave you 3 months to show him who you really were, and you chose to disrespect him every single day. But I didn't know. You didn't know he was wealthy, Ryan interrupted. But you knew he was my father. You knew he just lost the love of his life. You knew he was grieving and vulnerable, and you chose to kick him when he was down. Emily's face crumpled. The money doesn't matter, Ryan continued. What matters is that you called my father dead weight. You tried to take away his bedroom. You told the neighbors he had dementia. You treated him like garbage in his own house. Ryan looked at me with something I hadn't seen in months, respect. Dad, I'm sorry I didn't defend you. I'm sorry I let her treat you that way. And I'm sorry I believed her stories instead of trusting you. Apology accepted, I said. But actions matter more than apologies. I understand. I'll take the lease on the house next door. Emily and I need to have some serious conversations about our marriage. Emily looked panicked. Ryan, you can't be serious. We're married, we're supposed to be a team. Teams don't lie to each other, Emily. Teams don't manipulate each other, and teams definitely don't humiliate each other's family members. He turned back to me. Dad, I'll move into the rental house next door. Give Emily 30 days to figure out what she wants to do with her life. If she can genuinely change, prove she's learned something from this, maybe we can rebuild. If not, he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. That sounds like a mature decision, I said. For the first time in 3 months I felt like I was talking to the son Carolyn and I had raised, the son who understood that character matters more than comfort. The news of Emily's eviction spread through the neighborhood faster than gossip usually travels. By Tuesday I was getting phone calls from people I hadn't heard from in months. Robert, I heard what happened at the barbecue, said Nancy Peterson from 3 streets over. Good for you for standing up to that awful woman. Nancy had met Emily exactly twice. I always thought there was something off about her, said Jim Morrison, whose wife played bridge with Carolyn for 15 years. Carolyn would have handled her the same way. But the real consequences for Emily were just beginning. Ryan moved into the rental house next door on Wednesday. I watched him carry boxes from his car, and for the first time since Carolyn died I felt hopeful about our relationship. That evening he knocked on my door. "Dad, can we talk?" Of course. We sat in the living room where Carolyn and I had raised him, the same couch Emily wanted to replace with a sectional from Ashley Furniture. "I need to understand what happened," he said. "How did I get it so wrong?" I'd been thinking about that question for days. "Son, Emily told you stories that made sense with what you could see: old car, thrift store clothes, quiet routine. It looked like an old man struggling to get by. But why didn't you ever tell me about the money, about the business sale?" "Because it wasn't relevant to our relationship. When you called me dad, when you brought me coffee, when you helped me fix things around the house, that meant something because it came from love, not obligation or inheritance planning." Ryan nodded slowly. "Emily's been asking me about the will, about what happens to your money when you die." "What did you tell her?" "I told her it wasn't any of our business. That you decide what you wanted to do with your money." "Smart answer." "Ryan, I need you to know something. The money, the properties, the business, none of that makes me a better father or a better man. Carolyn and I lived modestly because we wanted to stay grounded in what really mattered. Family," he said. "Character. Treating people with kindness. Building something meaningful together." We talked for 2 hours that night, really talked, like we hadn't since before Emily moved in. Meanwhile Emily's world was unraveling in spectacular fashion. She'd posted something on Facebook about family betrayal and elder abuse, trying to paint herself as the victim. But Sarah Mitchell had shared the real story with enough people that Emily's version didn't get much traction. By Thursday her job situation became complicated. Emily worked as a marketing coordinator for a small consulting firm downtown. Professional reputation matters in that field. Apparently her boss, Rebecca Martinez, had heard the story through her husband who worked with Greg Mitchell. "Emily," Rebecca told her, "I need to ask you about something personal that might affect your work here." Emily tried to deny everything, but Rebecca had heard too many details from too many sources. "Emily, you tried to evict an elderly widower from his own house. You told neighbors he had dementia. You called him dead weight. It's not what it sounds like." "It sounds like elder abuse, Emily, that's exactly what it sounds like." Rebecca put Emily on administrative leave pending a review. "We work with senior clients, Emily. How can I trust you with their accounts now?" By Friday Emily's situation had become desperate. She'd been calling Ryan constantly, begging him to intercede with me. "Ryan, please talk to your father. I'll do anything, I'll apologize publicly, I'll pay him back for everything. Just please don't let him destroy our marriage." But Ryan had finally seen who Emily really was when the pressure was on, and he didn't like what he saw. "Emily, Dad didn't destroy our marriage. You did that when you decided to treat him like garbage. But I didn't know he was rich. So you knew he was my father. You knew he just lost his wife. You knew he deserved basic human respect. None of that required him to be wealthy." Emily tried a different approach. She showed up at my door Saturday morning with tears and apologies. "Robert, I've learned my lesson. I understand now how wrong I was. Can we please start over?" "Emily, what exactly have you learned?" "I learned that you're wealthy and I should have been respectful." "Wrong answer. You learned that you should only be respectful to people with money?" She backtracked frantically. "No, I learned that I should be respectful to everyone. I learned that appearances don't matter. I learned that family is important." "What you learned," I said gently, "is that your behavior has consequences. That's valuable knowledge. Use it in your next living situation." By Sunday Emily had found a studio apartment across town, $700 a month, nothing like the luxury she'd planned to enjoy in my master bedroom. Ryan helped her move. He told me later it was one of the hardest things he'd ever done. She kept crying, kept asking him to choose between her and me. "What did you tell her?" "I told her I already chose. I chose integrity over convenience. I chose my father over someone who tried to abuse him." That afternoon Ryan and I sat on the front porch watching the sunset, something we hadn't done since he was in high school. "Dad, are we going to be okay? Our relationship, I mean." "Better than okay," I said. "We're going to be honest with each other from now on. And the money, the properties, what happens to all of that?" I smiled. "That's between me, Laura, and whoever proves they deserve to inherit the values your mother and I built together, not just the money, the values." Exactly. Carolyn would have been proud of both of us that day. 6 months later Ryan and I have coffee together every Tuesday morning, same kitchen table, same coffee mugs, same newspaper routine that Emily once called depressing. The difference is that now Ryan understands what this routine really represents: consistency, tradition, the simple pleasure of father and son sharing quiet time together. He's thriving in the rental house next door, learned to manage his own budget, cook his own meals, make decisions without checking with someone who treated his father like dirt. Dad, I've been thinking about what Mom would say about all this. What do you think she'd say? She'd say that sometimes the people we love need tough love to find their way back to who they're supposed to be. Carolyn would absolutely say that. Emily and Ryan's marriage ended in November, clean divorce, no drama. She moved to Phoenix to start over, took a job with a different company, hopefully learned something about character along the way. I genuinely hope she becomes a better person, just not in my house. The rental income from my properties now goes into a scholarship fund Carolyn and I started before she died, local kids who need help with college expenses, especially those from families that understand the value of hard work and treating people with respect. Ryan has been helping me manage the properties, learning about real estate, about building something meaningful for the future. He's good at it, and more importantly he approaches tenants with kindness and fairness. Laura updated my will last month. Ryan inherits everything, but only if he continues to demonstrate the values Carolyn and I tried to teach him. Character matters more than bloodline. The house feels peaceful again. I still sleep in the master bedroom. Still keep Carolyn's picture on the nightstand. Still honor her memory by living according to her principles: quiet dignity, modest lifestyle, generous heart, clear boundaries. Emily thought she could take advantage of an old man's grief. Instead she learned that sometimes the quietest people carry the heaviest consequences. Sometimes respect isn't about what you wear or what you drive. Sometimes it's about what you build and how you treat people when you think nobody's watching. Carolyn always said, character is what you do when you think nobody will find out. Well, Emily found out. If you enjoyed this story, please let me know in the comments where you're watching from and tell me about a time when you had to stand up for yourself or a family member. Sometimes the best lessons come from the hardest decisions, but they're always worth it.